Have you ever felt like you're building castles that the world keeps knocking down? Have you woken up exhausted from fighting a tide that never stops? Then you need to hear Jake's story. Jake was one of those guys who lived in fast forward, running to work, running to fix problems, running after results. His days were an endless sequence of urgent tasks, unanswered messages, demands that never ended. He'd wake up at 5 in the morning with his chest already tight, thinking about everything he needed to get done. His phone was practically glued to his hand, always buzzing, always demanding attention. His wife Sarah told him he was physically there but mentally checked out. His kids Emma and Tyler would call for him and he'd just mumble one sec. But that second never came. At work, no matter how hard he hustled, there was always one more thing pending. Another project running late, another impossible deadline. Jake felt like he was on a treadmill set to max speed, running nonstop but getting nowhere. The anxiety grew in his chest like a pressure cooker. He couldn't sleep right anymore, couldn't enjoy anything anymore. Everything was a desperate race against time, and he was losing. One Sunday morning, after another sleepless night, Jake looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the man staring back. Hollow eyes, exhausted face, defeated expression. Something inside him screamed, "Stop. You need to stop." And that's exactly what he did. He grabbed his truck keys and drove out to the Outer Banks. Didn't tell anyone. Didn't plan anything. He just needed air. He just needed silence. When he arrived, the beach was nearly empty. The sound of the waves had something hypnotic about it, something calming. Jake kicked off his sneakers and started walking along the sand. That's when he saw an old fisherman sitting near the rocks. The man wasn't fishing. He was simply taking handfuls of sand and making small mounds, one next to the other. Carefully, patiently, no rush. Jake stopped and just watched. There was something absurd about the scene. The wind would blow and every now and then it would undo part of the old man's work. But he didn't seem to care. He just kept going, mound by mound. Curiosity got the better of him. Jake walked over and asked, "Why are you doing that, sir? The wind's just gonna destroy it all in a minute anyway. Isn't that a waste of time?" The fisherman looked up and Jake saw a peace in those eyes that he hadn't felt in years. The old man smiled and said, "You see a waste of time. I see the only way to live." He scooped up another handful of sand and continued, "Life is exactly like this sand. If I try to grab all of it at once, it slips right through my fingers. If I rush to build a whole mountain right now, the wind destroys it and I get frustrated. But if I make one little mound at a time, paying attention only to that one mound, then I've lived. I've actually lived that moment." Jake sat down in the sand next to him. "But what if everything we do is gonna be undone anyway? What's the point?" The old man looked out at the ocean. "The point isn't in the mound of sand that stays. The point is in the act of building. Can you hear the ocean right now?" Jake nodded. "Could you hear it yesterday? The day before? How long has it been since you heard anything except the noise of your own hustle?" Jake felt a lump form in his throat. He couldn't remember. Life happens now, son, in this grain of sand, in this breath, in this wave. If you're always running toward the next moment, you never actually live any of them. The fisherman's words hit Jake like thunder. He realized he'd spent years trying to control the future, trying to do everything at once, trying to make sure everything turned out perfect, and in the process, he'd lost everything that actually mattered. His kids' laughter, Sarah's touch, the taste of his morning coffee, the sound of birds chirping, everything had become a blur in the rush. If you're seeing yourself in Jake's story, hit that subscribe button right now. This message might just change your life. Like it changed his. Jake stayed there on the beach, watching the old man make his little sand mounds, and then, hesitantly, he started doing the same. He took a handful of sand and created a small mound. Just that, nothing more. He felt the texture of the sand between his fingers, felt the sun on his skin, heard the sound of the waves, and for the first time in years, he wasn't thinking about anything else. Just that moment, just that small pile of sand. In the days that followed, something shifted in Jake. He didn't quit his job, didn't abandon his responsibilities, didn't run away from his problems, but he changed how he dealt with them. Instead of trying to solve everything at once, he started focusing on one thing at a time, one meeting at a time, one conversation at a time, one meal at a time. When he was with Emma and Tyler, he was really with them. When he worked, he worked. When he rested, he rested. People around him started noticing. "You're different," Sarah said one night over dinner. "Calmer, more present." Jake smiled. "I'm learning to build sand mounds," he replied. She didn't quite get it, but she felt it. She felt like the man she'd married was coming back. At work, Jake realized he was actually getting more done while being less anxious. Ideas flowed better. Decisions came with more clarity, not because he was multitasking like crazy, but because he was giving his full attention to each thing he did. One project at a time, one task at a time, one email at a time. Sure, the win still came. Problems still showed up. Plans still fell apart. But Jake learned that was part of life. It wasn't a war to be won. It was a rhythm to be accepted. Like the fisherman and his sand mounds, he learned that the beauty wasn't in creating something permanent, but in being fully present in each act of creation. Months later, Jake drove back to the beach. He looked for the fisherman, but didn't find him. He sat in the same spot and started making his own little sand mounds. A couple walked by and the woman commented to her husband, "Look at that. What a waste of time. The wind's just gonna blow it all away." Jake smiled. He'd thought the same thing once. Now he knew that wasted time wasn't there in the sand. Wasted time was in all those years he lived without actually living. He scooped up another handful of sand and created another mound. Slowly, with attention, with presence. The wind might take it away, and he'd build another one, and another, and another. Because life wasn't in the mound that remained. Life was in the act of building. Now it's your turn. Look at your life. Where are you trying to do everything at once? Where are you so focused on the future that you forgot to live the present? Where are you running so fast that you can't hear the ocean anymore? Start small, one mound at a time, one breath at a time, one moment at a time. Life isn't at the finish line. Life is right here, right now, in this grain of sand between your fingers. Don't let the wind of hurry take away what matters most. This moment, here and now. If this story hit home for you, smash that subscribe button and ring the bell. Share it with someone who needs to hear this. And remember, rushing scatters the sand. Presence builds the life, one mound at a time.